Um, Rachel Carson's book is the reason why the Environmental Protection Agency was launched. I think that there are some admirable things about trying to be careful about how you use pesticides, but banning this entirely really cost, I think, the human population significantly because there was a spike in malaria deaths. And this is not just malaria. I mean, this is dengue. Dengue is a hemorrhagic fever that people die from. Zika, which affects babies in utero. West Nile personally affected one of my dad's best friends who wound up being quadriplegic for over a decade because of it. There are multiple insect-borne illnesses that we do not see that were common and could make a comeback. So the campaign against DDT was unfortunate because nobody really talked about the benefits. Now, DDT is still used in some places like South Africa, where they do paint it on the walls of houses to prevent Anopheles mosquitoes from accumulating and causing malaria. And that's because there's resistant plasmodium, the organism that causes malaria, has become resistant to some of the prophylactic medicines and some of the medicines we use to treat malaria. Also, some of the more advanced medicines that we use to treat malaria there's been increasing resistance because of black market practices in creating drugs with very small concentrations of artemisinin in them. And so there's a significant concern about losing access to effective drugs. So once again, pesticides are really critical for treating or preventing this. So DDT is painted on the walls of houses in places like South Africa to prevent this disease. It's critically important, but the claim that it causes all sorts of diseases and the claim that it has such bad environmental effects, I have to say, I think are overstated. It revolutionized medicine and it revolutionized food security, and it's important for the continued management of malaria.
Talk, if you would, about the fact that underusing it is actually arguably as dangerous as overusing it. Because if you underuse it, the mosquitoes have a higher likelihood of developing resistance to it. Now, it still has some uses, like it will repel mosquitoes that are resistant to it. A lot of people don't know that. That's actually really fascinating.
And that's one of the things that's really interesting about it, because it's not only an insecticide, but it's a repellent. So mosquitoes will stay away from you in the first place. Yeah.
And the reason I bring this up is because defenders of Rachel Carson will hit back and they'll say, look, she didn't call for an outright ban. She just said we have to, blah, 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 and regulation and be sensible. I think that's nonsense, because when you write a book like that, and the book is dramatic, Silent Spring, if you read the language, it's not a measured scientific thesis. It's very much designed to trigger your emotions. But nevertheless, people will say, she just was calling for responsible regulation. But when you talk about something like this, if you don't use it in the appropriate concentrations, it doesn't work. And actually, it gets less effective. And this is the paradox that people don't get. And if this was your kid whose life was on the line, you would get this. But you don't get it because they're way over there, it's way removed, and you've got your righteous anger about Tony Fauci or whatever.